Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into AI and quantum computing and more specifically how they'll shape the future of cybersecurity. You guys send in some really interesting stuff, articles, videos, you name it. I got to say, I'm excited to unpack it all with you. I think our mission today, what do you think, should be to not just, scratch the surface of the tech, but really figure out what it means for us, in our lives, our jobs, all of that.
Yeah, and you're right to be, I think, fascinated, but maybe a little overwhelmed because it's not sci-fi anymore. Like AI is already changing cybersecurity as we speak, and quantum is right around the corner. So yeah, we'll separate, the hype from reality, give you a clear picture of what's what.
Exactly. And one thing that really jumped out at me was just how AI and cybersecurity is. It's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Like everyone's talking about how powerful a tool it is,
Yeah.
but then you flip it, and it could also be a pretty serious threat if it falls into the wrong hands.
It's a bit like, when humanity discovered fire.
Right.
An incredibly powerful tool, but it can be used for good, for bad. It's all about how we wield it. And a great example of this is in that AI News article, how companies, big companies like MasterCard, they're investing billions with a B into AI-driven cybersecurity. I mean, they acquired Recorded Future for, get this, $2.65 billion.
Oh, 2.65 billion. That's not chump change. Clearly,
Yeah.
they're taking this very seriously.
Yeah.
So what is it about AI that makes it so powerful for cybersecurity? Like, what can it do that traditional methods can't?
Imagine you're tasked with protecting a huge network, right? Thousands of servers, millions of transactions every minute. It's impossible for a human or even a team of humans to monitor all that data in real time and look for those subtle signs of an attack. And that's where AI comes in. It can analyze these mountains of data lightning fast and spot those anomalies, those potential threats that we might miss. And here's the kicker. It's not just about reacting faster, it's about predicting what might happen next.
Predictive cybersecurity. It's like having a crystal ball, but for cyber threats.
Yeah, exactly. But instead of, vague predictions, this is based on data, hard data, sophisticated algorithms.
Yeah.
Imagine being able to predict where your network is most vulnerable before an attack even happens. That's the potential here.
Okay, that is powerful stuff. But but the article also mentions the potential downsides, right? I mean, what happens when the bad guys, the hackers, what happens when they get their hands on this AI tech?
That's the double-edged sword, right? Just like we can use it to defend, it can also be used to attack. And those attacks, they could be more sophisticated, more difficult to detect than anything we've seen before. It's a constant arms race with both sides trying to outsmart each other.
It's a little unnerving when you put it like that. And it's not just AI we're talking about either, right?
Yeah.
We also have quantum computing on the horizon,
Yeah.
and that adds a whole other level of complexity, I think.
It does. Quantum computing has the potential to be even more disruptive to cybersecurity than AI, I would say. Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame.
Quantum computing still feels, I don't know, like almost science fiction to me, to be honest.
No.
You've got the David Bumble Tech video and transcript, and I'm hoping maybe you can help our listeners kind of wrap our heads around it a little bit. First of all, is it even real? Like, does quantum computing actually exist, or is this something that's, years and years away?
It's a good question. It's definitely one of those things that gets, the hype machine gets a hold of it, right? But the reality is, yeah, quantum computers do exist. They're not, readily available. They're mostly in research labs, still in their early stages.
So it's not like your average hacker can just, log onto the dark web and buy a quantum computer and, wreak havoc.
Not quite yet, thankfully.
That's good to hear. But Bomble's video, he does mention something called Shor's algorithm. And it sounds like that could be a game changer when it comes to breaking encryption. What is that, and why is that such a big deal?
Yeah, so Shor's algorithm is a mathematical algorithm that in theory can be run on a powerful enough quantum computer to break the encryption that protects, pretty much all of our online data today. So everything, from online banking to, secure communications to even, government secrets, Shor's algorithm has the potential to crack those codes.
Okay, so it's like a skeleton key for the digital world. But if quantum computers are still mostly in research labs, why are we even worried about this now?
Preparation, it's all about being prepared. The experts in the video seem pretty confident that by, 2030, quantum computers will be powerful enough to pose a real threat to our current encryption methods. So, that gives us, less than a decade, really, to get our act together and develop new security measures?
It's a race against time.
Yeah.
But the video also mentions these quantum safe practices and algorithms.
Yeah.
What are those and how do they work?
Right. So it's not all doom and gloom. There's a lot we can do to get ready for this quantum era. One approach is to develop new encryption algorithms that are resistant to attacks from both classical computers, the kind we use today, and quantum computers. That's where PQC comes in, post-quantum cryptography.
Right, you mentioned that before, PPC. Can you explain it like, in a way that even I can understand?
Sure. It's basically we're creating new mathematical problems that are really hard, really, really hard for even quantum computers to solve. Imagine, changing the locks on your doors to something far more complex, far more difficult to pick.
We're future-proofing our encryption.
Exactly. And the good news is these PQC algorithms, they can actually be implemented in our existing systems. We don't have to scrap everything and start from scratch, which is, always a good thing.
That is good news. But you also mentioned something else earlier, QKD.
Ah, yes, QKD, quantum key distribution. So this one is really interesting because it actually uses the principles of quantum mechanics to create these ultra-secure communication channels. Think of it as a way to exchange encryption keys that is, for all intents and purposes, unbreakable, even with a quantum computer, theoretically.
Wow, that's mind-boggling stuff, but really cool too. It seems like there's so much potential here, not just to protect ourselves from these future threats, but also to create entirely new ways of communicating, of protecting information.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, one of the most exciting things about this whole field. It's not just about, playing defense. It's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
And speaking of possibilities, Bomble's video really got me thinking about the career opportunities in all of this. He talks about this massive need for people with quantum expertise. And it's not just like the physicists, the mathematicians, or
Exactly. It takes a village, It's not just about the science anymore. It's about how we apply it, how we integrate it, how we manage it. We need talented people from all kinds of backgrounds, software engineers, cybersecurity analysts, even ethicists, policymakers. It's a booming field with a lot of room for people with all sorts of skills.
like the Wild West of tech right now.
Yeah.
I can see why you're so into this stuff.
It's incredibly dynamic. And one of the things that Bombal emphasizes is, you don't need a PhD in quantum physics to get involved. There are tons of resources available, online courses, certifications, to start building your quantum skill set.
So there really are opportunities for everyone, regardless of their background.
Absolutely. It's about having that passion, that curiosity, and the willingness to learn, to adapt, because this is a field that's changing all the time.
It's inspiring, honestly. It seems like in this quantum future, there's room for everyone, even those of us who maybe, explain things for a living rather than actually, building the things.
I think that's such a crucial point because as we move into this unknown territory, right?
Mhm.
Clear communication, thoughtful analysis, that's going to be more important than ever.
Totally. So if we had to boil everything we've talked about down into, I don't know, a few key takeaways for our listeners, what would those be? The big things they should remember.
Okay, so number one, AI. AI is already changing the cybersecurity game right now. It's not a matter of if, it's how fast.
Right. Yeah.
Number two, quantum computing. It might seem like something out of, Star Trek, but it's real. It's coming.
Yeah.
And we need to be ready. And then finally, I think the convergence of these technologies, it's a huge opportunity for those who are ready to learn, to adapt, to really, dive in and help shape this new world we're moving into.
I love that. And for anyone listening who's ready to take that next step, don't worry. We'll have links to all the resources we've mentioned, the articles, the videos, everything down in the show notes.
Yeah.
This really does feel like, I don't know, the tip of the iceberg. Or maybe, I guess, the tip of the qubit in this case.
Yeah, that's a good one. And it is. It's a massive field, constantly evolving, endless possibilities.
Well, on that note, a huge thank you to you for walking us through all of this, and to all of you listening for joining us on this deep dive into the future of cybersecurity. Until next time, stay curious out there.
And remember, the future, we're not just along for the ride, we're creating it.